Okay, what's going on, everybody? My name is Mangg. Welcome back to Hanging with Mangg. And we're going to be playing some more Hearthstone today because, I don't know, really it's like the most relaxing thing I could possibly play. Other than maybe like a Super Nintendo RPG, but this is easier. And, yeah, you know, just kick back in the middle of winter, play some Hearthstone, and shoot the shit. And that's what we do.
Jaina versus Gul'dan.
Yeah, so this week was,
You asked for it.
pretty slow. I mean, even of late, this was a pretty slow week. And, there's a couple reasons for that. Really, my weekends are fairly busy nowadays. Even though it's not like it never really feels like I'm doing anything important, but I'm always busy. I think I'm going to go to Applebee's, I go to my sister's, and, you know, play board games, and go out to bars, and I don't know. But we did... Shit. We did, there was no roll manging. There was no roll manging this week because we were missing a vital member of our group who could not attend, and so we had to cancel. That was disappointing. And I think there was a Commandos episode, I believe. Maybe not, I don't know. The weeks start to blur together. There's no 50 Shades, although I am ready to read the final chapter, so I'll be doing that very soon. And then, okay, so Thursday, well, it was like Monday or something like that, when I believe Reefly, I think, reminded me about The Order. The Order 1886 was coming out this week. Well, that's damned worthless. Sure. So the Order 1886 was coming out, and I had forgotten about that completely. I remember watching like the cinematic trailer or whatever during that E3 when it came out, and it was like, oh man, you know, the Order, it looks really cool. There's like, it's kind of Victorian, but there's guns and all sorts of cool stuff going on like that. I mean, this could be pretty sweet. The big first PS4 awesome looking exclusive. How could we go wrong? So I remember, and then I didn't really ever watch much gameplay. I think there was some leaked footage a while back that I watched. It was just kind of like, here's a third-person shooter. I'm like, okay, I mean, I guess it's what I expected, but okay. And
Another round.
I am ready.
Bombs away.
I was like, all right, you know, and then I forgot about it, and so this week I was reminded about it. So I pre-ordered because I was like, oh, you know, that'd be a great Let's Play, you know, not too complicated, just fun, actiony, shooty stuff, so on and so forth. And, oh, come on, you give me that? That's the duplicate. Good lord. Are those mechs that I just screwed up? Oh my god, I can't play that out of embarrassment now. So I got the game on Thursday, even though it apparently was supposed to come out Friday. Amazon shipped it to me early. I don't know what happened, but I got the game on Thursday, and I was like, oh man, this is awesome. I get to record the game a day before it comes out. Maybe I can upload it to YouTube. I don't know the rules, but I'm going to do it anyways, and oh, this is going to be really cool. And so I had heard a couple things. People have been talking about this on the internet, about this game, how... rumors and leaks that it was really like 5 hours long, and that it was just really not that good of a game. And I was like, well, you know, we'll see. We'll just see if it's good, or you know, we'll make our own judgments. And so I started up. I was recording it, and we're going through the opening cinematic, and the game looks really good. It looks really good. I can't argue. But, +1 attack. No matter what, this is shit. I don't know what to do. Because no matter what, this all dies. Dies to everything. I guess I want this dead. So yeah, the game looks really good, and I was making, you know, some cracks at it, and it would seem like this was going to be good, and then 5 minutes, no, actually it was like 8 minutes in or something like that, 9 minutes in, something like that. I finally look over to my other screen, I'm like, huh, the video froze. What's up with that? And so I was like, that's really annoying, and so I checked what I had recorded, and I had the first few minutes recorded, so I was like, okay, maybe I can just take, like, most of it was cinematic. Most of it. So I was like, okay, maybe I can just take some of the cinematic from some other video, put it in, and we'll just start right here. You know, I can edit something together, I guess. So I fired it back up, and I kept on playing. Another 5 minutes went by. I look over, and it froze again. I'm like, oh my god.
My shield.
Well, that's great. I can't go on like this, so I guess I'm scrapping the LP. I made a very hasty decision. And the reason is the game is pretty shit, to be honest. Okay, maybe I can still pull something out. The game is pretty shit. I've been playing it on my own now. But, it's really like, so much of this game is just, look what we can do with our technology, you know? Like, it's almost like a tech demo. It's almost like a tech demo that they're like, we could make a game out of this, right? There's so many, like, little things that they try to show off. Like, when you pick up an object, and there's all sorts of objects, like, laying around as you just walk through places that you can just pick up, and it's like, it'll be just like a piece of paper or like a screwdriver or some bullet, like, whatever. And you can rotate it in your hands, and your wrists kind of rotate, and you can look all over the object. And it serves no purpose whatsoever. You'll just be like walking through a marketplace, and you'll pick something up, and you'll look at it, and that's it. Like, there's no purpose for you doing that. It's just, look at this thing, you can rotate. It's just so pointless. And, a lot, it's so cinematic, it's bullshit, is what it is. It really is. They go for such a cinematic appeal, like 30 frames per second. They cut off the top and the bottom because it gives a more cinematic feel. And then going on to just the game itself, everything is devoted just giving a cinematic feel. But I don't want that. You know, I want a game. I don't want a movie. And at one point I was playing, and it was... I literally... Like, I was controlling my character for most of, like, a lengthy part of it, but I didn't do anything. Like, I didn't really do anything. I was just walking and climbing stuff. And yeah, you do that in Uncharted, but usually they break it up with some really intense stuff. But no, I was literally just walking and climbing around stuff. This could just be like a 20-second cinematic. They're like, no, just let him walk through. It'll be great. Oh god, it was annoying as hell.
I can take the hit.
And then once you do get to actual, you know, shooting stuff, it's still bullshit because it's like I think it was like Kotaku or something. They called it just a shooting gallery, and that's really the best way to describe it. It's a shooting gallery. You show up in an area, and a bunch of enemies run out. You shoot them all, and you move on to the next area. That's it. That is the game. And yeah, it's not very good. It's not very good. Like, I'm gonna return it as soon as I finish, but I don't even know if I want to finish it. I guess I will, but I got other stuff I want to play. But my favorite part, well, my two favorite parts about it. One is the back of the box quote. There's one quote on the entire box, and it's on the back, and it says, "Crazy, ambitious, and highly cinematic." And I just love this quote because it's such bullshit, but it's also accurate because it is crazy ambitious, but that doesn't make it good whatsoever. That's not a good thing. I could put out a game where it's just a picture of my shit on screen, and you like run the cursor over it, and you like the shit kind of ripples as you run across it, and that would be crazy ambitious of me, but that does not make it good. And highly cinematic. It's like, yeah, I can't argue with you. It is definitely highly cinematic, but this is on the back of a video game box, not a movie. So that's a shame. But the best part of that is the quote that the source that they took the quote from was Entertainment Weekly, which is of course the #1 reputable source for video game box quotes. Okay, but actually my favorite part of the Order 1886 is when you open up the case, you see, of course, the disc, the Blu-ray, on one side, but on the other side, like, you know that the little inside panel where they used to put manuals, but then they stopped because, you know, money. The only thing in that little panel on the other side is a big ad for Bloodborne, and that's it. That's it. It's just like, yeah, you're about to play a really shitty Victorian age game, but here's another better one coming out soon. So, yeah, that's the Order 1886, or also known as the Do Not Order 1886, or the Border 1886, all sorts of fun names like that. Really just kind of disappointing. Like, there was potential there for a really cool, interesting game, but so far it is not delivered. Okay, I guess I kind of win this one then. Yeah, so that was, there would have been a bunch of videos of that if the game was good and I could record it. I think, I maybe if I had just reinstalled the game capture program, it could have worked, but I guess I just didn't want to do it. I don't know. I think Windows 10 is really the problem because I've been having a number of issues since I installed the preview build of Windows 10. I should probably be switching back to Windows 7, but Windows 10 looks really pretty, so I don't know. So yeah, I mean, I've mostly been playing, if I've played anything, I've been playing Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate, which, yeah, if I could record it, you know there would be a flood of videos of it, but I can't, so there isn't. Bummer. Yeah, So, but Bloodborne, that's coming out soon, right? It's coming out real soon. Oh, I could have actually killed him. Bummer. Okay, so I don't know what next week will bring. Probably nothing too crazy. Maybe another Sherlock. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I could start that Resident Evil thing, I guess, but I'm just not excited about that, and that's not a good attitude to go in. Yeah, so in the... Oh, yes, let's make it something awesome. That's lame. Lame. In the world of board games, let's see. Last time I forgot to talk about XCOM, the board game. Because I think the previous week I had said I was going to be playing it, and then I forgot to talk about it. But nobody commented because, you know, I understand. But I had forgotten to talk about XCOM, and I wanted to talk about it. So, went over to Ziggy's place to play it. And he's got a pretty small kitchen table. You know, he lives in a small apartment, so he's not going to have a gigantic kitchen table. Compared to me in my basement, I have 2 large tables just for board gaming. It's a bit of a difference. But, so he had everything set up, and the game pretty much took up the entire table. Like, almost every inch of it. And so XCOM is broken up. Really, you can play it with less than 4, but why would you? It'd be like playing the Game of Thrones game with less than 6. You know, it's just don't do it. So yeah, so it's for 4 people basically, and each person. Are you kidding me? Wow. Fight Master, what are you doing?
My magic will
I
tear
am
you apart.
ready.
I guess that was kind of dumb, but okay. So, okay, 4 players. Each player takes a role. So, one is the chief scientist, which is really the most relaxing of the roles. You give it to generally the dumbest person, so we gave it to Mert. Maybe that's not true, I don't know. Then there is the commander, who is responsible mostly for the budget. Like, he's got to keep track of the budget and allocate it properly, but it's not really that... Like, the way it originally, when I first heard about the game, the way it makes it sound is people are constantly, like, begging the commander for more money, and he has to, you know, be the hard ass who's like, no, I can't give you any more money. But really, we never came up with that problem. It was always very understood where money needed to go, you know? So, really, he doesn't have that complicated of a job, and he handles the interceptors, which deal with UFOs and stuff like that. There's the communications officer, I think it's called. He's responsible for putting out satellites in orbit, as well as communicating everything that the app says, basically. So one review I think I read compared the communications officer to Sigourney Weaver in Galaxy Quest, where he just repeats everything that the computer says. That's pretty much what it is, yeah. Pretty funny. And then there's the squad leader, which is the most important and best role. And if you have a poor squad leader, you're basically screwed. You'll never win. all the money should go to the squad leader, and he deserves your respect. You may be able to tell which role I was responsible for. I don't know. Maybe. But, yeah, I was the squad leader. And I'm only somewhat bullshitting you. It really is a pretty important role, because you can't win without the squad leader completing missions. Like, you can't. But you can't... we gave Mert a lot of shit as the scientist, as you can imagine. We gave him plenty of shit. But you can't... The scientist is pretty important. I mean, I'll admit that. Because I wouldn't have been able to win without the scientists inventing shit. Now, Mert still did a pretty shitty job, because, you know, he didn't roll properly. But those two are pretty important. The other two are really, they're just kind of there. Like, they're just like, well, we can't make this a two-player game. So I guess just throw in some more stuff. I think if you were going to play with two people, basically how you'd look at it is you're playing the scientist, I'm playing the squad leader, and then we'll just both fill in the other two roles. That's basically how it is. So, as a squad leader, I pretty much had the most complicated job. I think the squad leader really, I mean, I know that's what I did. I'm trying to talk it up, but really, it's the most complicated one. I think I have the most decisions to make, and I have the most to keep track of, really. It sounds like I'm bullshitting you, I know, but trust me, I'm not. Basically, like, I have to deal with aliens coming into the base, so I have to deal with that pretty much every time, and so I have to decide which one of my soldiers, my active soldiers, are responsible for going to handle the base, which if you don't take care of the base, you lose. But then, also to win, you have to deal with missions. So every turn you're going to be, or every round you're going to be drawing mission cards and deciding which missions you're doing. And then you have to take your other soldiers that you didn't send to the base to go on the mission. And you want the mission to win, because if you complete 3 missions, you can do the final mission and then you win the game. So you need to complete missions. But you don't want to screw over the base, because then you lose. So you're like, it's like a juggling act, really. The scientist doesn't have to juggle shit. Like, what does the communications officer have to juggle? Oh my god. The squad leader is where it's at. And I really enjoyed playing the squad leader. I don't want to play the communications officer. Are you kidding? Dude, duplicate Gazrilla, that's what's happening. No, that's what's happening. I'm not putting out anything else. Double Gazrillas. Eat shit. It is a difficult game, though. We were playing on easy, and I think we played 3 games, and we finally won the 3rd game, barely. And we only really won because the scientists Mert made the Shiv, which is one of the inventions, and it's like a little robot thing from the game. Some of you may know. And the Shiv in the board game is ridiculous. Like, the Shiv automatically finishes, completes, kills, whatever, one of the mission objectives. And so when you're on the final mission, which the final mission's objectives are pretty damn tough, the Shiv just knocks it out. And then we had, the communications officer had this thing where he could basically reuse something that's already been used that turn. So we used the Shiv twice on the final mission, which just basically, yeah, it's ridiculous. So I don't give myself much credit for doing the final mission, but getting to that point, that was all me. It was all good. So it's a difficult game, but it's pretty fun. I wouldn't put it as my favorite co-op or anything like that. because when you break it down, and this is me playing the best role, like, the squad leader is the best role. Everything else is less intense than the squad leader, you know? But like, if I were the communications officer, oh my god. And look at this. Unstable portal. Like, I feel when you break down each of the roles, they're not really that interesting. It's basically just, you know, put some cards on the table, roll some dice, move on. That's it. And it's only made interesting because a lot of it is done in real time.
Made to fit.
You know, a lot of it is just, there's time on the clock, it's ticking down, move really fast, you know? So it's kind of like artificially interesting, I guess. The sum is greater than its parts, you know? It's I guess that kind of is obvious, isn't it? Yeah, it's all right. I would definitely play it again, but I'd probably demand to be the squad leader. So it doesn't compare to something like Sentinels of the Multiverse, where everyone is equally complex, and you know, there's a lot of variation, and there's more variety, and you know, it's, yeah. XCOM is alright, and I like the precedent, I guess, it sets for app implementation, but there are better co-ops. But I'll play it again, so. Do I even want to do that? Probably not. I could just kill his, but we'll hold it. Yeah, so that was XCOM. I don't know when we'll play it again, but we will. Next week, this Wednesday, we're going to be getting together at Ziggy's again, and we're going to be playing Mystery of the Abbey by Days of Wonder, which is not an incredibly well-known game. And we really only got it, Ziggy bought it, or he got it for Christmas, I think, because a while back we got together for like a movie night, and we watched this movie called In the Name of the Rose, starring Sean Connery, and it's a really strange movie, but we make references to it all the time. It's funny, just because it's really weird, you know, for like a Sean Connery movie. It's strange. And so there was apparently a board game based on In the Name of the Rose, but then they like retooled it or reskinned it or whatever, and now it's called Mystery of the Abbey. And so he got that, I think, for Christmas, so we're gonna get together to play it. It seems kind of like a gamer-ish version of Guess Who. There's like, it's like Guess Who. You're trying to figure out who is the culprit, I guess, at the Abbey, but so you're looking for who's, you know, you're eliminating suspects based on their facial hair and their hood and their brotherhood, you know, stuff like that. And you're trying to figure it out and eliminate suspects, and it's like Guess Who, but a bit more involved. So we'll see how that is. Friday, I went over to my sister's and we played some more games. Of course, Werewolf is involved. What else?
Jaina versus Garrosh.
What else was there?
Victory or death.
You asked.
there was a small game. For Sale, I think, was involved. And there was a new game. Yeah, there was a new game. We played, okay, so I was looking around. Because last time I think I said I was pretty content with how my board games were. There was nothing I needed to buy or anything like that. But I never really stopped looking. And so I don't know what I was looking at, but Nexus Ops came into my kind of my browser history. And I had heard of this game before. I heard really good things about it. And so I never really looked into it much. But I was like, oh, Nexus Ops, you know, what's up with that? So I looked into it, and it seemed like just a really solid thing to add to your collection. It's pretty light as far as, you know, board games go. It's at like a 2.2, which is, it's not like, you know, Carcassonne or something like that. It's a bit heavier than that, but it's not terribly heavy. Maybe medium light or something like that. And it's an area control game, I guess you'd call it. Like Risk is an area control game, you know. So basically, it's for 4 players, 2 to 4, I think, and it's a somewhat randomized board consisting of different hexes, and you're building your units. So every turn you can build more units, and you're sending them out, and you're trying to get control of mines that are, you know, scattered across the board to and mines give you more currency, so you can build more units. And you do battle with, you know, other enemy units by rolling dice, but sometimes you can get cards that can influence results, and it's nothing too crazy. It's nothing too crazy, but it seemed just really well designed for what's going on there. And so, what the hell? What is this? Siege engine. That's probably bad. And it seemed light for 4 players. It seemed like something good I wanted to add to my collection for going over to my sisters, because they seem very Euro-minded, and I want to get them away from that. I don't want to play too many Euros. It seems very dry. So it's like, you know, I'll get them to play this. It's not too heavy, but it's kind of, you know, a bit of Ameritrash going on. Actually, it's pretty Ameritrash. So maybe it'll be a good choice. Do I want to Echo and Medivh that shit? I want to lose this. I don't want to lose that. Yes. It seems like a waste, but alright. Yeah, so I got it in, I learned the rules, I set it all up, I went through a couple mock turns and stuff like that, and I brought it over there, we played it. And when I explained it pretty poorly. It was not one of my best explanations. I think I made it sound a bit more complicated than it really is. And so we started to go through it, and I think they started to pick up on how it worked. It's really not that complicated of a game. And you get secret objectives that you want to complete, and you get a victory point for every battle you win. So you want to get the first to 12 victory points wins the game. So, you know, you want to win a lot of battles, but you don't want to spread yourself too thin, and you want to build up your army and so on and so forth. But also you got these secret objectives, and it's well designed. And so as they started to get the hang of it, they started to appreciate it. But my brother-in-law just was trashing it the entire time. Just the whole time he was hating on it because he didn't roll well. And his dice rolls were shit. And so he's just like, is this game over yet? You know, oh my gosh. And so I finally won. I pulled off like a really slick victory. I was impressed with myself with how good it was. For a first game, I was like, oh, that was pretty professional is what that was. And he's like, oh, thank God, it's over. And it was just like, you know,
I can take the hit.
if you care that much about winning, don't ever play a game with any luck aspect. Like, you're just not going to have a good go of it. So, I don't know. We may play it again. I hope so, because my mom and my sister really enjoyed it. They didn't win, but they enjoyed it. So, if I kill this, he gets a legendary. I guess I got it. You gotta be shitting me.
My magic will tear you apart.
Yeah, so Nexus Ops, really solid choice. I don't know if it would go on my top 10, but if I ever do a top whatever gateway games or something like that, or games to start your collection, Nexus Ops is going to be on that list. Are you shitting me? What? Double Dr. Boom. This is trash. This is trash. Yeah, so Nexus Ops, really good. Look it up. So that was Friday night. And then Saturday... Well, Saturday I was going to stream, by the way. I tried to stream The Order, but it was the same thing, because it goes off of the recorder. So it just was not allowing it. It was bullshit. So I couldn't stream I couldn't stream The Order, at least. So I was just like, ah, screw it. I could have streamed Zelda, and I probably should have. But anyways. So Saturday, my mom's like, oh, you know, your sister wants to...
Let the pain speak to me.
Wants to get together for more games tonight. Are you doing anything? And I'm like, no, I guess we'll play more games, as Will Wheaton says. And so that's what we did. We went over there for dinner, and we played more board games.
Something needs tinkering?
And we actually had my oldest nephew and my aunt over as well. So we had 6 people for board games, and my mom's like, bring simple stuff. She's like, bring Pit. I'm like, alright, I'll bring Pit. That's the biggest craze right now. So I brought over Pit, Werewolf, No Thanks, For Sale, and King of Tokyo. And I figured those are all fairly simple things that almost anybody could get the hang of. Maybe Werewolf's probably the most complicated of those. And so we started off with For Sale, which, you know, for somebody like my aunt, this is basically her gateway game. You know, this would be her first modern board game, more or less. And so it took a little bit to kind of wrap her head about it, 'cause she was like, I think when we started Pit, she compared it to like gin rummy, and I'm like, no, not at all. So it took a bit to wrap her head, but For Sale went pretty well. I think she won a game. And then we moved on to Pit, which is just great. Everybody should own Pit. Even if you're not really gamers, just buy Pit. If you ever have a party, just bust out Pit. No, like even for people to watch. People will love watching Pit. It's just fantastic. Every household in the country should have a copy of Pit. It's the simplest game I own, but it's probably the funniest. It's probably like one of the most fun, pure fun games that I own. There's no strategy. Anybody can learn how to play it, and if you know how to yell, you can play Pit. Even if you don't win, even if you never win Pit, you'll probably still have a good time. Yeah, so Pit was good. And then we played Werewolf, I think. We played a bunch of Werewolf, and that took a while for her to wrap her head around. That took a bit. And eventually she got the hang of it, and we had a bunch of fun playing 6-player Werewolf. 6-player Werewolf is better than 4-player Werewolf. I think anybody would agree to that. It's just good stuff. I lose. Yeah, it was good. It was good. Werewolf's good. I like it. It is getting a bit overplayed at that household now. Like, every single time I bring Werewolf, and every single time we play at least an hour or so of Werewolf. So I probably would... I'm going to try to wean them onto maybe a different type of Hidden Traitor game. Maybe I'll look up like a 4-player Resistance variant or something like that. But it's still good. It's still good. I'll play it. Whatever. And then today we had our board game day with our regular group. We started off with some Coup, because we haven't played Coup in a while. Coup is still good. Coup's great. Then we moved on to Pit, of course. And,
Jaina.
is it all... I want to say it's all luck. There's really nothing to it. But I won 3 games before Mert won 1. And so we played the first of 3 is the winner. So I don't know. I won overall. And like I dominate. Mert didn't win any games, and everybody else won 1 game, and I won 3. So I don't know. I don't think there's anything to it. But who knows? It's great though. It was just you can just tell there's like an electricity around the table when everybody is like 1 away from winning. And all these cries of just one, all around the table, and you're just like, oh my god, I hope I get, oh man, it's so intense. Just buy Pit. It's really good.
Hurry up! Portals online!
I am ready.
Then we played Cosmic Encounter, which, I love. Love Cosmic Encounter. And so we played a 6-player game of that. And I played as the Extortionist, who we've seen before. Pretty good alien as far as aliens go. Because basically when anybody draws any amount of cards for any reason, you can extort them to take half of the cards rounded down. So if they draw defensive rewards, they take 4 cards, you can take 2 of them. And they either have to give you those cards, or they can send one of their ships to the warp of your choosing. So basically, if they made the dumb mistake of only putting 1 ship as a foreign colony, you can just remove one of their foreign colonies, or you can take their card. So they're generally going to let you have the cards, which means you get a lot of cards. It's good. It's real good.
Hurry up! Portals online!
So I was pretty pleased with that, and like I started with the Changeling Flare. And the Changeling Wild Flare lets you basically, you play it at any time, and you can take 1 card at random from the player to your left. And then you give them the Changeling Flare. And so, I played it like turn 1, right off the bat. I was like, playing the Changeling Flare. And the card that I took from Ziggy was the Extortionist Flare. It was perfect. It was like a godsend. It was ridiculous. And the Extortionist Flare, the Super Flare, basically forces players to give you cards. Like, they don't have the option of losing a ship to the warp. So, yeah, it was good. And I rocketed to 4 colonies pretty easily, and I amassed some good cards. I was feeling on top of the world, but then, of course, as Cosmic Encounter goes, things got tricky. We started playing with the Hazard deck, which mixes things up quite a bit, but it didn't get played that much. Because we pulled a lot of Hazard cards for players that weren't in the game, so we didn't get a lot of use out of the Hazard deck, but the one that came out was the
Job's done.
oh shit, I played that wrong. What did I do? That's a beast? Oh my god. That was dumb. That was real dumb. Hopefully it just runs into my face. I'll accept that. Oh, that was dumb. Studs got a hazard card that basically meant he had to make an alliance with another player. And all that really does is he basically he created an alliance with another player, which was me. And anytime we were a main player in an encounter, we had to invite the other person. Which normally is not a huge deal, except when, you know, you get to 4 colonies. And so when you get to 4 colonies, and you have to invite somebody, then you have the potential to give them the victory, possibly. Or, you know, best case, I guess, get a shared victory. And so he gave, I don't know why he gave it to me. I guess because he thought I couldn't extort him then. But I still could. All it was just you had to invite them. They didn't even have to accept the invitation. They could still join the other side, but you had to invite them. And so then he got his Changeling Super Flare because, you know, my other friend just greedily gave it to him for whatever reason because he wanted to use the Changeling Flare, but the Changeling Flare keeps going around the table. It keeps going to the left every time somebody uses it, so eventually it's going to get to the Changeling Flare if he's in it. So, he, of course, he's like, I want a card, so he took the card and gave him the Flare. So then the Changeling Super Flare meant that he basically kept on taking my power, so he was the Extortionist, so I got less and less cards out of it. And then
Punch you down.
basically, it came down to a pretty shitty situation where Mert played the Tripler, which is a pretty solid power as powers go, depending on how your hand is. And he was going up against Blue, who had an empty planet, so he went up against there, and then they were like, oh, we could get a shared victory. And so they actually went for a shared victory. I tried desperately to help defend. Studs tried desperately to help defend, but we just couldn't do much. And so,
Shall be mine.
You asked
yeah,
for it.
I lost to a shared victory, which I don't count as a real victory anyway. So basically, it ended in a draw. We just, I guess, ended the game, you know. But yeah, it was kind of lame. You like having a winner. But what are you gonna do? It was a good game of Cosmic. I still enjoyed it. And then we played. We had like an hour or so left. We needed a 6-player game, but we didn't want anything that light, you know. We didn't want anything just. I mean, you know, we don't want like a filler or something, so we wanted something medium-ish. And so we narrowed it down to either Lifeboats or 7 Wonders. And so we put it all to a vote. I was voting, I voted for Lifeboats. Because Lifeboats would have been much simpler to teach. Because I remember when I first got 7 Wonders, I remember having a lot of kind of bullshit rules. And I was like, I guess I can do it, but sure. So everybody ended up voting for 7 Wonders, which I was kind of surprised by. It didn't really seem like their type of game, just kind of a civilization building card drafting game. Lifeboats is kind of like Diplomacy Light, where everybody just hates each other. It seems more our speed, but no, they ended up going for Lifeboat, or for 7 Wonders. So I busted it all out, and I was like, oh, I gotta learn how to play this game in like 3 minutes, otherwise they're gonna get all angsty and ornery and all sorts of bullshit. So I was like, oh god.
Where do you go? I see everything.
That was a surprising move.
I am ready.
And, yeah, so after a lot of questions, finally we got going in Seven Wonders. And if you haven't heard of this game, it's fairly popular. It's by Antoine Bauza, and it's a card drafting tableau building game, I guess. And basically, it's card drafting, so it's played simultaneously, and every round you're playing a card, and then you're passing your hand of cards to the person on your left. So it's all simultaneous, and you keep going around until all the cards kind of diminish and go away.
Something needs tinkering?
I am ready.
And so you're trying to. It's played out through 3 rounds, I guess, 3 ages. 3 hands of cards, and so you're trying to go for different. There are different strategies, there are different methods of winning, based all through victory points. You can either go through kind of like a military victory, where you build up all your military cards to get points that way, or you go the scientific route, or you just kind of go for your wonder and focus on that, or you just go for pure victory point cards, and all sorts of kind of stuff like that. And so I was like, this first game is just going to be a clusterfuck. We're not going to know what's going on. Just deal with it, If I don't kill this, I lose. But there's no way I can do that. I need a taunt. And I'm not getting a taunt. I need a taunt. That's not a taunt. I lose. Yes. Yes, I do. So yeah, it was, we played through it, and we started to understand, by like the second age, we all kind of figure out how most of this works. And I've heard it described as kind of it's a 3-player game, no matter how many people are at the table, because really you're dealing with your own shit, the people on your left, and the person on your right, that's it. That's really all you're involved with. I didn't give a flying shit what Mert was doing on the other end of the table. Like, it didn't matter to me ever what he was doing. Because we couldn't affect each other. It didn't matter. I only cared what Ziggy was doing and what Suds was doing. That was it. And so, yeah, that's a downside, but you don't really care, I guess, because it's a fun thing, just building up your own civilization and, figuring out what's my best way of victory. It's an interesting design. And I ended up tying for first, so I guess it was like our second shared victory of the day. And it was pretty cool because I kind of was all over the place. Like, I had the military stuff going on, but I also went for victory cards, and I had a lot of resources built up, and I had a good guild picked out in the 3rd age. I built up my wonder, so I was spread all over the place, whereas the other guy did almost only science. Like, he went science completely. And so we both ended up tying at 57 points. And so it was pretty cool how that works, So we definitely are probably going to play it again, just to kind of see the variety and people get a better understanding of how it works and things like that. It's a pretty fun game. Is it anywhere near my top 10? Probably not, but I can't complain about it. And then I think that's where we ended, yeah. It wasn't a very long day. And I'm really hoping one of these days to play Game of Thrones, the board game. It's just 6 people. We have a board game day. That seems like a good choice. I would hope I don't have to make that like an event, where I have to make like a Facebook thing and be like, oh, let's play Game of Thrones this day and blah, 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 blah. And it's just like, But we'll see. I know I have to do that for Twilight Imperium 3, and I don't know when I'll do that. I'll just set like a day in like June. I'll just pick a Saturday in June and just be like, save the date, bitches. Twilight Imperium 3. I don't know. We'll see what happens. One day I will play it. I don't know if I'll even be able to record it or anything like that, but it'll be great. Yeah, so I guess that's it for board games. Oh, I ordered a couple new ones. I ordered I ordered the Cthulhu expansion for
My magic will tear you apart.
Smash Up, the obligatory Cthulhu expansion. We'll see how that is. We liked Smash Up. We want to play it again. And I ordered my first Reiner Knizia game. And Reiner Knizia is known for a lot of, I guess, Euros? I don't know what he's really known for. Or rather, the name is very familiar. I know he's done stuff like Ra, things like that, modern art. He's a prolific designer. And so he's done a lot of things, and I find it funny that the first game that I'm going to own from Reiner Knizia is a game called Weedle, which is in like the 3,000 spots or whatever on Board Game Geek. It's a relatively little-known game from Reiner Knizia called Weedle, and it's basically a slightly more complex version of Pit. It's Pit with just a little bit more. And I was like, that's what I want, is I want Pit with a little bit more. I like all the yelling and crazy action, but I want there to be just a tiny bit of strategy. That would be great. And so apparently that's what Weedle is. So I will find out probably next Sunday. But yeah, I guess that's all she wrote for board games. Okay, so I went to Applebee's 3 times this weekend. Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Each one to a different Applebee's. And each time it was me and my one other single friend with somebody different each night. So it was me, him, and then somebody different each night. And I was joking about it. It was like, it was basically every night is just us trying to find somebody else to go to Applebee's with us. Which is really sad. And I told him, I was like, basically, whichever one of us gets a girlfriend first, the other guy is really screwed. Because then, what is he going to do, you know? And he agreed, so I don't know. I mean, I don't want to be an asshole, but I hope it's me. Flame Strike. Yeah. And Thursday night, that guy, he texts me at like 9 o'clock. He's like, well, I'll be there at around 10. He's like, ETA 10. I'm like, okay. I guess I'll arrive there around 10. I get there at 10. I tell them, oh, there's going to be 3 of us. So they sit me down. And like 20 minutes later, it's still just me sitting there. It's still just me sitting there, and the hostess comes up to me. The hostess comes up to me and says, "Oh, were you stood up?" And I'm like, "No, I just have a problem with punctuality." She looks at me really strangely, and she's like, "Oh, you do or they do?" And I'm like, "Both, I guess." She gives me kind of this very motherly look, like, "Oh, you're a disappointment, but that's okay." And then she just heads off. I'm like, oh, great. And so he shows up. He shows up at like 10:30 or something like that. And like 10:45, we're sitting there, and she comes back. The hostess comes back, and she's like, "Oh, the other guy still didn't show up." Like my friend that's sitting there didn't mean anything. Like, it's only once the 3 people show up that's when it really mattered. But just this guy, that's nothing. That means nothing.
Powering up. Portals online.
Shit, I may have screwed myself. So yeah, that was funny.
I am ready.
What else? What else was there? Not much, really. Just boring nights at Applebee's. I lose, I think. Okay, no, that's 5-7. Okay, I can... If I wipe it, I guess I have a chance. Saturday.
Well
Oh,
played.
last night. Yeah, we went to this, well, we went to Applebee's, and then we went to a bar. And at the bar, there was this guy. And I've seen this guy there before. And, this guy. I don't even want to call him a guy. You ever see somebody and you just... Like, it's something like primal inside of you, where it's just like you're meant to hate this person. You're just meant on sight to visibly seethe in rage at this person's existence. Like, just from the old days, just something that hasn't quite evolved out of our, you know, mentality, where we just want to see this person gone. I don't even know how to describe it, where it's just, this guy, I've never spoken to this man, I've only observed him, but something about his existence is not correct. He should, no. He's a fuckface. I hate him. Oh, God. Man, this guy. Just thinking about it pisses me off. He's like... You ever picture like a village idiot? Just in your head when you hear the word village idiot. Whoever you picture, that's what this guy looks like. Trust me. Trust me. I picture him just in the middle of a town square 500 years ago, wearing a big diaper and just wandering around with a drink in his hand. That's this guy. He's just like a man-child oaf. He's like Chunk from the Goonies if he was dropped in a vat of paint chips. Oh, God. I don't even know why I hate him, but I want to punch him. Like the most punchable face you could ever picture in your head. Where you want to punch your own head because his face is in your head. God, I hate him. I had to leave the bar. I just couldn't stand looking at him. He's just like sitting on the floor of the bar. Every time I've seen him, he's just completely plastered and he just wanders around. He just smells female. Like, he's just, oh, God. Ruined my whole night. I hate him. I hate him. I hate him. He probably got into a traffic accident at some point. And he probably deserves it. For whatever reason. I don't know. I hate him. I hate him. I don't know why I needed to share that, but... God, what a piece of shit. Now I'm getting all worked up. Anyways, I think that's about it, actually, for today. Hopefully there's some roll manging tomorrow, which will probably be the last D&D role-manging for a while. I don't know if anyone is terribly upset by that, because I think people enjoyed Secrets of Role-manging with the Call of Cthulhu and all that stuff, and that will be making a reappearance very soon. I have the giant Horror on the Orient Express big box sitting right next to me. It is glorious. It's like 10 pounds. It's like this. It's just a big box, and it's all one campaign. It's crazy. It's like the biggest campaign I could ever imagine. There's like 7 books in there. There's all these props and shit. I'm really kind of sad I'm not playing it in real life, in person, because there's a lot of physical stuff, and there's maps and things like that. I think it would add to a lot to the experience, but I think people would have to drive or fly a bit to play it in person, so I can't demand that of them. Or can I? No, I don't think I can. But it would be better in person, but it will be fine online, and it's going to be an incredible campaign. Really looking forward to it. Briefly, I was going to message you, but you're probably listening to this, so you should probably comment or something, because we're thinking of starting Call of Cthulhu next Monday. We're going to be doing kind of a one-shot next Monday to kind of introduce people that haven't played Call of Cthulhu, and then the following week we will begin the big campaign, and it is going to be crazy. I'll be doing Secrets of Role-manging alongside it to fill you in on all the goings-on, and man, I'm going to have to buckle down on my reading, because there is so much of that campaign to read. Oh man, I haven't really started yet. Whew. But Call of Cthulhu, great shit. It's going to be a hell of a campaign. Hell of a campaign. Alright, I think that's about it. I'm done talking. So, my name is Mangg. This has been Hanging with Mangg. I'll see you fine folks next week.